What's up guys, I'm Josh Mosiman and welcome to This Week in MXA, episode number 91, presented by O'Neill Racing. Thank you guys for tuning in. Every week in these videos, we try to entertain you guys with the latest news and the latest happenings within the motocross industry and update you with what the MXA test riders are doing, what we're testing, what we're doing, what we're racing, what we're riding, what we're trying, what we're learning, and the fun that we're having being test riders. So this week, we are talking all about the Motocross Des Nations coming up this weekend, all the way in Redbud in Buchanan, Michigan. I'm excited to be there, covering the race firsthand with my camera and with my microphone. Looking forward to it. In this video, we'll talk about the teams and the riders that are planning to show up this weekend, and we'll share a little bit from the Red Bull Imagination event that Trevor Nelson was at this past week. Let's dive into it. So starting off, let's talk about the teams who I think can win this weekend at the Motocross Des Nations. Some of the teams that jumped out at me on the entry list. Now, if you want to see the full entry list of everybody that's racing this weekend at Redbud, check out our website, motocrossactionmag.com, and see the pre-race report from the MXDN for this weekend. But there's 6 teams that really stood out to me when glancing across the list. Obviously, Team USA, I got to put my money on Eli Tomac, Chase Sexton, and Justin Cooper. Really hoping that Team USA can bring it back for the Americans this year on home soil again. It's going to be, I believe, 11 years straight that we've missed out on winning the Motocross of Nations, so hopefully these guys can bring it back. If there's any 2 riders in the 450 class that can do it, I think now is the time, and I think it's Chase Sexton and Eli Tomac. Just after watching them dominate the field this summer in the US, it's going to be interesting to see if they can do that same performance this weekend at Redbud. So looking forward to that. The other 5 teams are obviously Team Australia. Jet Lawrence riding a Honda CRF 450 is going to be very exciting. It's his first race on the 450 4-stroke, and we're really excited to watch him. I know everybody is. So Jet Lawrence will be in the open class. His brother Hunter Lawrence, he'll be on the 250 and the MX2 class, and then Mitch Evans, a fellow Australian HRC Honda rider from Australia, but right now racing the MXGPs in Europe. Those 3 riders are going to be representing Team Australia this weekend, and they have a strong chance at doing well. Team France, they also have won a lot lately in the past few years. They got Maxime Renault and then Dylan Ferrandis and Marvin Musquin racing for them in the Motocross of Nations this weekend. It was kind of interesting to note that Team France chose Marvin Musquin to drop down to a 250 rather than picking the MX2 world champion from this year, Tom Vial. So you guys might have seen the press release. Tom Vial signed a contract, I believe it was 2 years. I have to fact check myself on that, but he's coming next year to the US to race Supercross and Motocross for the Red Bull KTM team on a 250, but he's not racing Motocross of Nations this year for Team France. And he is the MX2 world champion from this year, from just a few weeks ago. So kind of surprising that he's not going to be there, but they got Musquin, Ferrandis, who's coming off an injury after, missing most of the outdoors due to his thumb injury, and then also hurting his back when Justin Barcia took him out at Budds Creek. Maxime Renault, he's a great 450 rider for Yamaha. So Team France, they have a great chance. The Netherlands, they have a great chance with Glenn Koldenhoff, Calvin Vlanderen, and Kai de Wolf. All solid riders in the 3 different classes they're representing for the Netherlands. Solid lineup. I think they have a great chance of doing well. Glenn Koldenhoff has been on the podium a couple times. Team Italy, they have a great chance. Antonio Caroli, it's his last race as a professional, last official race, and he's racing with a knee injury. I don't believe that it's fully healed, but obviously you can't count him out. They're going to come in with the number 1, 2, and 3 on their number plates for Team Italy, so they have a good chance of doing well. And then lastly, on the top 6 list that really stood out that could win, Jorge Prado, Guillaume Ferres, and Ruben Fernandez representing Team Spain. I think they could do well. We all know Jorge Prado, Gas MXGP rider. Ruben Fernandez is an awesome rider on the Honda, and then Ferres, he's the Star Racing Yamaha 250 fill-in rider that raced the last few rounds for Star Racing. So great chance for Team Spain overall. Lots of excitement coming up this weekend. One more interesting point when going down the entry list for the Motocross Des Nations this weekend is that Tim Geiser, the 2022 450 MXGP World Champion, will not be at the race this weekend. So that makes 2 world champions from this year that won't be at the race this weekend. Tom Vial, the MX2 250 class world champion, he won't be there for Team France. And Team Slovenia, Tim Geiser will not be there. Team Slovenia will not be there, and Tim Geiser will not be there. He's looking forward to 2023. So interesting points. Tim Geiser obviously is resting now, recovering and getting ready for training sessions and preseason prep for 2023. Tom Vial, the only thing I could think of why Team France wouldn't have used him instead of Mosiman is that he's going to take some time off and then come here to the US and start testing, training, and practicing on Supercross here soon. So interesting topics. Motocross Des Nations is usually the race where you get the best in the US versus the best of the rest together. And now we have two of the world champions that won't be there this weekend. Another thing I wanted to point out for the Motocross of Nations that is a cool part about this event is that each country has the option to move their riders around, jump their 250 rider up to a 450 or their 450 rider down to a 250 to make the best team possible for this race. We tried to do it. We thought about doing it. The ballots were out for Justin Barcia and Christian Craig to possibly drop down to 250. Even Jason Anderson talked about it, but it is Justin Cooper who got that spot for Team USA. Jago Gertz, he is racing for Team Belgium in the MXGP class. He's the rider that got second overall in the 250 championship for the World Championship Series. Finished second this year in the 250 class. Tom Vial, he won it. Tom Vial is not showing up. Jago Gertz, he's jumping up to a 450 for this weekend. So that means the rest of the 250 riders that got beat by Gertz and Vial, they're excited not to have those guys in the class this weekend. Another note about the Motocross Des Nations I wanted to point out is a few US based riders that are going to be racing this weekend that aren't on Team USA. So a couple riders from Brazil, you got Enzo Lopes and Ramuller Alves. These are two riders that have been based here in the US, riding for US teams. Lopes, he rides for the Club MX Yamaha team. They will be representing Team Brazil this weekend. Also Benjamin Garib, a good buddy of mine, and Hardy Munoz. They're racing for Team Chile this weekend, both riders from Chile. They've been making a living and living here in the US, riding and training. Benjamin's trained with Dennis Stapleton, lives at his house, trained with my buddy Kelly Andrus and a lot of other guys here in Southern California. Other riders, Benny Blos and Josh Varese, and also our favorite rider, Sean Lepanovich, are racing for Team Guam. So Sean, his family is from Guam, but Varese and Blos, they got lumped in on the team with Sean Lepanovich. So they're going to be racing this weekend at Redbud. I've been battling a lot with Sean, so I hope he does well so that I could cheer for him this weekend. Felix Lopez, he stays here in the US quite a bit. He's racing this weekend for Team Mexico. Obviously, fan favorite Joe Shimoda, he is racing his Pro Circuit Kawasaki 250 this weekend for Team Japan. Exciting one to have him at the race this weekend. And Freddie Noren, one of my good friends, he's representing Team Sweden at the Motocross Des Nations this weekend. So a lot of guys to root for that aren't only on Team USA this weekend. All right, guys, so a lot of exciting stuff coming for Motocross Des Nations this weekend. We call it Motocross Des Nations because the root word for motocross and for this race actually comes from the French language. And this race started way back in 1947 with that term Motocross Des Nations. I'll admit it's more natural for me to say Motocross of Nations, but we're trying to uphold the roots of this sport and the roots of this race here at Motocross Action. So that's why I'm doing my best to say Motocross Des Nations, and hope you guys will as well. So follow along this weekend on motocrossactionmag.com. We're having all the news updates from the weekend at Redbud, and I'm excited to bring you guys lots of coverage from there. Also, Motocross Action Mag on Instagram. We'll have updates on there all weekend long. Also, want to talk about the Red Bull Imagination event. It's the 3.0, the third version of this event. Happened in the middle of nowhere in Kansas. We sent MXA's digital editor and the guy behind the camera who's editing these videos, Trevor Nelson, was out there for 4 days last week having a blast shooting the event. The full airing of the competition is actually coming this Sunday, the 25th, on ESPN Plus here in the US. And if you're outside of the US watching this video, you can watch the Red Bull Imagination on Red Bull TV. So keep an eye out for that. Trevor Nelson did an awesome job covering it for us. Also, we just released our 2023 Kawasaki KX450 video on our YouTube channel and our website. Be sure to check that one out. I was pretty harsh on that bike because we know its capabilities and we know just how good it can be, but unfortunately they didn't make the updates that it needed. So pretty harsh on that bike, but just know, Kawasaki, that we really appreciate your bike, and it's more like a proud dad who's really hard on his kid because he knows his potential. It's almost how I felt when I was recording that video. So be sure to check it out, motocrossactionmag.com. All right, guys, thank you for tuning into this video. We appreciate the comments and we appreciate you guys watching. Let us know in the comments if you want to see anything specific this weekend at the Motocross Des Nations, because I'll be running around with my camera, my cell phone, and my microphone, interviewing and talking to as many people as I can. Thanks for watching. See you next time.